let's talk about how to find or create purpose in our life. I think purpose is one of these things that everybody is actually looking for, but a lot of people don't consciously know that's what's missing in their life. So a lot of people will devote themselves to a role or a path, and they're inside of it, but they don't see it as a purpose and maybe don't even feel it as a purpose when it is, but it lacks a certain vitality. So we'll talk about all of this around how to find it, how to create it, and how to really create a certain meaning and inspiration and heart in your life. So I first learned this through a very fortunate but also very painful process years ago when I was doing all the things that I thought one did to feel happy and be successful, but I found so little success, internal success, satisfaction, inspiration from what I was doing. I was a graduate student at the time. I was very fit and healthy. I had passions around rock climbing. I had friends. I was dating. I was doing all these things that really looked good from the outside. But on the inside, it was super painful. I remember I spent a summer up in northern Idaho in this beautiful part of the world doing an internship, a paid internship as a psychotherapist, my first job. It was like in 2005. And I was working with these young kids. I was learning a lot. It was very cool, actually. I was like climbing harder than I ever had in my life. I had some cool friends. I was just in this amazing life, but it sucked. On the inside, I was just suffering so much. So the benefit of this for me was that it created a burning desire inside of me to get relief from my suffering. And the relief from the suffering was actually creating a deeper purpose in my life. Now, you may be just as blessed as I was to, I'd say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek and with great compassion, actually, that you might be suffering greatly in your life, which for me, I see this as a blessing because it is making us very, very aware that something is not working in our life, some way that we have designed it, some way that we experience or relate to ourselves, or some other facet of our lives is really not working. And the benefit or the gift of that suffering is that we are being woken up to something in our lives. Because I travel the world right now. I'm actually in Portugal. I have this amazing life where I was in Brussels for the weekend at a meditation program that my spiritual master was putting on. And I got to contribute a bit, got to spend some time with her, which was like incredible. Got to spend time with our amazing international community. And then two of my dearest friends and brothers, Doug and Trevania, were like, let's go somewhere in Europe. So we decided to go to Porto, Portugal. We've been here for 5 days. We're flying out tomorrow morning. Went swimming in the ocean, went to these yoga classes, tooled around Porto. It's an amazing town, and I've got this blessed life. So all this to say is that this all started from a very painful moment in my life where I started to wake up to how something wasn't working. And I've stayed on this path for over a number of years. And now I have this fantastic life that I just want to continue to create. So the first thing that you want to do to find or create purpose is to create a burning desire. You could even say to use the pain or the suffering that you are experiencing right now, if that's happening for you. And if you're not, create or become aware of how uncomfortable you are in certain facets of your life. Maybe wake up to how you've numbed out from that, which I certainly have. I used to numb out from that pain and suffering by over-exercising and by throwing myself literally at rock walls. And so wake up from the discomfort or become aware of how the discomfort is alerting you to some aspect of your life that's very important that you need to shift. And that will have you spring into some kind of other action. For me, that was feverishly looking for help. I went to mentor groups. I went to men's workshops, weekend workshops, retreats. I went to therapy. I did spiritual healing stuff. And eventually it brought me to this amazing path that I'm blessed to be on, which had me become a celibate monk. That won't happen for you. You will find an amazing partner, an amazing career, travel if you want to, create a family if you want to. Your dreams will come true if you stay on the path, right? So number one, create the burning desire. Number two, start something that you like. I was talking with this awesome young man that I've worked with for like 3 years now. He's 19. He just finished his first year in college, did awesome. We've done amazing work together over the years. And he was talking about how we were talking about purpose, actually. And I was like, you're on summer vacation. How are you doing without having purpose? And he's like, well, I actually do. And it was fine. Like, I was just wondering because he struggled with that historically. And he said, well, I actually do, because even though I'm like golfing a lot and playing tennis and working at this job in a bar, which is just fine, I'm getting up early to go golfing. I really want to get better at golfing. And I'm spending tons of time with friends, which are three things that if he wasn't doing, he'd really be suffering and struggling. So he started to create this life of himself, which he didn't consciously do as purpose, but it created purpose, right? He was growing. He was pushing his comfort zone around getting up early because he'd much rather sleep till 1 p.m, right? And it was awesome. It was great. So he just started with something that he liked. For me, back in the day, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was working in a wilderness context with young people. I did it for about 2 years. I didn't know what my next step was. I started another company from the bottom up for a variety of reasons. And I was sitting, I'll always remember this, I was sitting in eastern Georgia at this beautiful bouldering area at sunset, and I had a couple beers, and I was like, what am I doing? And I just got really clear. I was like, what should I do next? And I had a couple beers and this campfire by myself, and the sun was setting, and there was this beautiful orange sky, and then this beautiful dark blue it was dark blue, and then this beautiful orange on the horizon. And it became so clear to me that I needed to go to grad school, go to graduate school. That was the message I kind of heard telepathically, you could say, from somewhere. And I did, and I made steps to do it, and that put me on a path to where I am right now, right? So start with something that you like to do. Or what happened for me, I looked back on what I was doing, realized I must like this if I'm spending all my time getting trained to do it, and I'm going to take it to the next level, right? Number 3, give yourself to your life. Meaning, let's take the example of this amazing young adult that I work with. He gets out of his comfort zone regularly, and he stays on a pathway and invokes a process of growth, a pathway of purpose, right? Growth is the pathway to purpose. Growth is the pathway to purpose. So if we stay engaged in something and we are growing in whatever we're doing, meaning even if we're bored in what we're doing, by the way, I had this insight the other day, the difference between boredom and peace is judgment. Because I struggle with boredom, and I'm like, God, the only reason I'm bored is that I judge what's happening out there or in here. And if I remove that judgment, then I actually experience peace. Kind of cool, I thought. Maybe you do too. If that's great, if so. So all this to say is that growth is the pathway to purpose. How do we grow? We get out of our comfort zone and we stay engaged with something that we like. It's pretty simple, actually. So number 4, stay on a path of progress. Meaning fail, succeed, fail, succeed, fail, succeed, fall forward. I was working on this really hard rock climb, the hardest rock climb I've ever tried. It's a 513B, which is a pretty elite class of climbing. I never did it, but me and my best friend at the time, Greg, we would go to this climbing area every day when we were in town in Boulder, and we would just throw ourselves at this rock. I was taking like 30-foot falls regularly. We were rehearsing moves. I didn't train enough as I could have in order to do it, but I was there and I was having this great time just throwing myself at the rock and taking these big falls and working out the moves and trying really hard. And I lowered down one time, this young, strong climber walked up to me. He's like, oh, were you successful? You know, and he was kind of like bitter and kind of had failed on his project that day or whatever. And I was like, yes. He's like, oh, did you send? Which means like climbing to the top without falling. And I was like, no. But it was definitely successful, and kind of like walked away. And I could tell he was just like sort of frustrated and triggered and confused at the same time. But I realized in that moment that for success for me was actually making progress. And number 2, enjoying what I was doing, right? So number 4 is stay on a path of progress. Growth is engaging in whatever we're doing and regularly getting outside our comfort zone. You're going to fail and you're going to succeed. You're going to fail and you're going to succeed. And if you stay on the path of progress and engage what you're doing, staying in the pursuit, then you're going to grow. You will absolutely grow, right? So all my best to you. You've got this. You can find purpose if you follow these 4 steps with regularity. I love you and I'm with you. All my best.